Welcome back to the Up and Down matches. There are Korean casters, and here are our foreign broadcasters. So guys, I know on the schedule it says Any Pro versus Tassadar, but because it's impossible now.
Yeah, they're both 0 and 3, so they're both out no matter who wins that. But because Tassadar was on the right, we're going to give him the win. So everyone else on the right has gotten the win today. So yeah, this is the results from today. SC is currently at 2-1. He does need to win the 10th match against Noblesse or he can't qualify. Noblesse is currently 2-0. ASD is also 3-0. So our final two qualifiers is going to be someone from ASD, Noblesse, or SC. And these last two matches are really going to determine who that is going to be.
But as we were talking about earlier, there is a possibility where everyone could be tied at 3-1 and we'll have to play them off all over again.
That would be awesome. All Terran. We could have 3 more Terran versus Terrans in a little bit from these really good players, all able to be really strong shots in Code S next season.
So the situation is, guys, if Noblesse wins, if Noblesse loses, he and SC will both be tied at 2-1.
Yep.
And then, of course, Noblesse they'll play off to see who gets it.
Yeah.
And then if Noblesse wins, then things get a little bit more complicated. I don't want to get into it, actually. I'm like, whoa. Yeah.
Moral of the story, if ASD wins, he's Code S. And then it comes down to the final match. So it's almost like the up and down matches of old, where you have the first 2 match, and then the winner of that goes to Code S, and then the next match where the winner of that also goes to Code S. So Noblesse being the person that has 2 chances to get into Code S right now in these next 2 games.
Yep. That's what happens when you do well.
Yeah, it's always a good thing.
Chances, man.
You should try to do that sometimes. So here's match 9. We did skip match 8 once again because it is not indicative of who's going to actually make it into Code S. It is going to be on Tall Dream Altar between Noblesse on the left, unfortunately for him, and ASD on the right, sitting at 3-0. So ASD almost guaranteed to qualify here. There's a very low chance that he's not going to, but it's not a guarantee. And in the GSL, upsets happen all the time. Random things can occur, so you always got to be prepared and you always got to play your best.
You absolutely do. And we actually have our game starting, but Noblesse isn't in a player spot. So
That's
oh, maybe it's just a bug on my computer. That was weird. I was like, why did they start the game?
Screen observers are actually X-Pro gamers, so they have X-Pro Gamer APM.
Very true. Well, I have a special English client on the Korean server. I'm special. Ooh. All right, guys, we're jumping into it. ASD versus Noblesse, a very important match for these guys.
Up and down between the medallions.
That was a pretty awesome camera shot, actually. Okay, guys, the bottom right, got a member of the team MVP. It's quite noble of him to make it this far. He is.
MVP Noblesse.
At the top left position, member of the team Foyu and FX Open, of course. He is.
ASD Foyu.
And ASD is actually putting his supply depot in his near his mineral line, so he's going to be staying very close with his base, not trying to go for an early wall-off. Barracks is a little bit further out. What you do by keeping your buildings close is it allows you to maximize your mining efficiency, try to get out a few extra minerals, which can help you a little bit if you're going for any sort of quick tech builds like he might be going for here.
Well, we do see Noblesse is going gas first. Very quick gas coming out of him. Of course, ASD going for very normal timed gas. This is a very large map. It's Tall Dream Altar, of course. Sometimes you have, on this map, tech builds work less than they were intended because you have these timings that are worked out, but the map is just so large. You're cross positions here, which is, it doesn't mean that air doesn't help you either. It's like you just have to go all the way across the map whenever you want to do that first Banshee or the Hellion drop, whatever you have planned. You want to walk your Hellions across the map. It just takes forever, so I can kind of mess with the groove that Noblesse is trying to set here with his gas first.
Yeah, but having that gas burst, you can get out Blue Flame Hellions, which can get across the map very quickly, and you can do a lot of damage with them all throughout the game. There's a lot of pathways into your opponent's base after they take their natural, so a lot of different ways to be able to do damage, even though it takes a little while to get to your opponent's base. And smartly, we have Noblesse building a supply depot on the left side so he can scout for any drops coming later on. Just starting to set up those buildings around his base so he can really be prepared depending on everything that could happen.
And he's going to deny this SCV scout. No way for his opponent now to know that he went for gas first. A reactor going down for ASD on his barracks. He's probably going to be doing the reactor expand. He's not going to do reactor Hellions. He could. I mean, it's very unlikely, but it has been done before. Usually when you see this build, you see a command center before starport. This SCV sneaks by the Marines. No, it doesn't. Nice try. Nice try, buddy.
Try to stay in the tree line.
Noble has actually heard me. He's like, what did Wolf just say?
Shoot trees. Shoot the moving tree. Yeah, these are Korean SCVs, not Americans. They can't hide behind the trees and shoot at the British.
Revolutionary War reference there. There's some Vietnam War references you can make regarding that as well. And it is going to be reactored Hellions coming out from ASD. On this map, you know, you can wall off in TBT, but you usually don't. And you could just sneak Hellions in there if your opponent isn't prepared for this. Yep, you could do a lot of damage. It's just very unusual. He is going to make that command center, so just a slight variation on the build that I thought he was doing. And
Noblesse actually waited to scout until he got these Hellions out. He didn't need to send out the SCV scout because he was getting a build that can counter most sort of aggressive openings from your opponent. And getting the Hellions in gets the exact scouting that you need anyway. So it's a little bit more efficient to do that. But there are 2 Hellions out here from the reactor of ASD. So he's going to be able to fight off these first 2 Hellions quite easily. But ASD does not want to chase quite yet.
Not quite. Right now, I think he wants to hide the fact that he made the reactor. Well, he's doing a switch, so this is just a really weird form of the reactor expand with the factory. He just did 1 round of Hellions out of it.
So we actually see Noblesse getting his expansion a little bit later than ASD, but the thing is he's getting it at his expansion location, so he doesn't need to spend that time floating over, and he is actually going to be pretty much on the same exact SCV timing later in the game. A little behind in Mules, though.
It's very true. ASD controlling the map with his Hellions, wanting to do what he can to spot anything that Noblesse is doing, but now he's going to be very aware of what's going on. It's going to force him, it's not going to force him, it's going to encourage him to lift his own command center ASAP, realizing that his opponent's not going to be attacking anytime soon.
But we do have a Banshee coming in here very soon from Noblesse, just trying to get some scouting in. There is a Viking coming out here for ASD, so it's going to chase that Banshee away quite quickly, but not before it gets 3 or 4 kills right here.
Does get 3 kills. The 4th one, maybe?
Nope.
Yep.
4th
Ha!
Marine, yeah.
You were wrong, Torch.
I said 3 or 4. Oh, there's 5. I'm wrong.
Now you're wrong. You have to look at
and
this
the
for the
Banshee
rest of your
dies.
life.
So the Banshee got the scouting to know what tech patterns there. He did see the second command centering going up, that it wasn't at the expansion location yet, so that gives him a lot of valuable information, even though the army trade-off wasn't really quite there for that Banshee.
ASD sticking with just the reactor and the factory. It's not yet known what kind of composition he's going to be going for later. You see Noblesse is adding another barracks though, so he's going to be going for tank marine style.
4 Hellions versus 1, 4 wins.
Usually, but that one shot hit 3 Hellions. He made the best use of that Hellion possible. Stim is on the way for Noblesse. He's getting his siege tanks out, and we do see that ASD is starting to add barracks here as well. Oh, I take it back. That was... Yeah, he thought about it. He had like the little highlighted thing where he was going to make it, but he decided not to. He's tricking me. He's changing things up. He was like, maybe I want to go by. I was like, no, I want to go back. He's getting his own stim, though. So it's pretty indicative that he wants to add at least some bio in there.
So these Hellions at the front are going to try to do some damage, but there are 3 Hellions of ASD to be able to defend, in addition to the siege tanks and the Marines. He did trade... Oh! He traded 1 Hellion for 1 Hellion. The other 2 Hellions can go home and get repaired. Not too much of a loss right there. Stim is almost finished.
Reactor finishing up as well for Noblesse. He's going to make a ton of medevacs out of that starport. He's going to try to use a very mobile bio with tank support army to keep ASD's base numbers low as he expands. Then you'll see him add more and more siege tanks as time goes on. And now you see ASD adding those barracks that he was thinking about adding earlier. Just want to wait a little bit longer before doing so. He's adding an engineering bay as well to start getting those upgrades out. He's got siege mode on the way. Something that Noblesse does not yet have. He hasn't started it yet either. We keep having these one-sided Hellion battles.
But they actually do okay. 2 is greater than 3 sometimes.
Well, especially when your Hellions are stacked up like that. One
Yeah.
more line shot will kill all 3 of those.
That's the thing about Hellions is they don't actually do that much damage in a one-on-one fight, but if you can get them in the right position, they can do an insane amount of damage with their splash in a line.
Absolutely.
We saw a little bit of that in the QXC versus MVP game.
Oh! Is this Viking going to spot the dropship?
It will spot it, but it will be able to take it out before any sort of drop goes down. The Marines are going to be able to get out and chase the Viking away, but it does remove the surprise factor, which is what you really need in a drop like that.
Surprise factor is pretty good. That basically the Viking just ruined the surprise birthday party for ASD. Now he knows what's coming. He's like, oh, you just got me a dropship full of 8 Marines. That's so predictable. That's why I had a Viking checking for that.
It's not my birthday.
It's not his birthday, actually. I can confirm. Noblesse looks like he wants to get aggressive here. He is up about 20 supply, actually. He's been using these Hellions to be mobile on the map. He kind of has an idea of what ASD is up to. He knows he's just powered up a little bit later than he has, so that's why he's got more units out right now.
Yep. But they are actually relatively close on the Harvester count. ASD is up by 5, not that big of a deal when you've got 50, so 10% is that's it.
So this could
force
actually
up
be really
Noblesse
bad
is
for
moving out.
ASD because he's moving out here. He had a really nice fortified position. These Hellions, he's going to actually try to trap ASD. It could work.
He's just slowly moving his siege tanks in, so when Noblesse gets his last 2 siege tanks within range of the mineral line, he's going to be able to do a lot of damage. However, there is a siege tank from ASD on the ridge as well. He's going to be able to fend it off a little bit, but not before taking some losses.
Yeah, he's not mining at all right now. He's going to lose that refinery as well, even going to lose this depot. He's starting to take some damage here and there, everywhere.
And ASD is actually repairing the siege tanks, trying to get one last shot out of it, but he does not get it. So Noblesse doing a really nice job of getting his units in the exact position that he needs them to be able to do the damage that he wants.
Air superiority comes into this a lot. What's interesting is that ASD just made his first 2 Vikings. Now he's going to be able to clean up this dropship, and that's going to essentially end this attack.
But not before taking out a lot of these siege tanks. He is going to be able to take down 1 siege tank with the splash damage. The medevac is going to go down. He does drop 1 Marine on the top, so he does get vision of the high ground. That is going to be really good. It can save him 1 scan or 2. But the command center does float, so it does not get destroyed by those last few shots from the siege tanks.
ASD is going to try to come over here and avoid the army of Noblesse. It looks like he wants to maybe go for a counterattack. If he decides to engage, I think it'll be the wrong choice in this position. Noblesse's tanks are spread too well.
Yeah, but if he can force the army of Noblesse to actually back off and force to defend, he can move in and then finally get the position that he really needs, which is what we see right here.
This command center is starting to get a little bit low. It's burning down. There he goes, he's repairing it. That was a close call. So both these guys going for very similar styles, Marine tank, almost doing it exactly the same way.
And getting upgrades at almost the exact same time as well. Armor coming out here for both players.
They already both have +1. And the better positioning here by Noblesse, holding the watchtower is so important. He's like,
Unless
is
you
it
die.
time? Oh.
Very valiant Marine there, but his life was in vain.
Well, he only had a few hit points left anyways, man. That guy couldn't even stem after that. That guy was pretty worthless, man.
He can be repaired.
I mean, he is an
They can rebuild
ex-con
him.
anyways, like...
Oh, that's true. No, I thought the Reapers were ex-cons. The Marines were...
Oh, they both are. The Reapers are like the ex-cons that were like serial killers that killed like 30 people.
Really?
The Marines,
Like, everything in Terran's like Australia, everyone's a criminal?
well, yeah, kind of like that. I don't know if I would say that about Australia, but...
Everyone was a criminal, sorry.
The Reapers are like, you know, they did some... Oh, hold that thought. He's actually going to run in here. This is not a good idea by Noblesse, losing a lot of Marines.
1 Marine sitting there against 8. I think he can hold it.
We'll drop over here. There's a Viking again. He doesn't like surprise parties.
But this surprise party is going to land. Most of these Marines are going to be able to get out, but not all of them. There's going to be 4. They are going to chase away some of the SUVs, but I don't think any serious losses are going to be taken out here.
You know, ASD is the kind of guy who just wants to go out for dinner.
Yep.
He doesn't like the party thing. He just goes out with some close friends.
But not a full medevac full of them.
No, yeah, he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. The medevac was like the car of people that showed up a little bit late and spoiled everything.
So we do actually have a bunch more upgrades coming out here for ASD. He's going to try to win the upgrade war against Noblesse. He's up a little bit of supply here as well, which is surprising because he was not able to mine on his natural base for quite a while. Noblesse is actually going to siege up a little bit beforehand and is going to run in with all these Marines, able to take down a bunch of the first siege tanks, but losing a lot of those Marines before any serious damage happens. Medevac is going to get loaded up with Marines, but is going to get foiled by this other contingent of Marines that is moving in here. If he could have gotten that medevac in, he could have done a lot of splash damage to the other tanks that were going on and absorbed a lot of the shots to allow the rest of his army to move in.
This is a really close game because both of these guys are essentially doing the same thing and they're both doing it well. No one's really making any mistakes.
The thing is, Noblesse had a little bit of an advantage in the units and the position that he had, but because you're fighting close to your opponent's base, the reinforcements of ASD were able to get there a little bit earlier and make his army slightly larger in every single engagement.
Well, Noblesse now,
Except for this one.
is engaging in a pretty good spot. ASD is trying to engage around the watchtower. It's very difficult to do. Even though he has the air superiority with those Vikings, it's just he has the watchtowers, so it doesn't particularly matter. He's also getting +2 weapons and +1 vehicle weapons much faster than ASD, so that's really going to start to come into play here pretty soon as well.
Yeah, there are also 17 tanks out here for Noblesse compared to the only 6 of ASD. So a lot of ASD's forces are in the Marines, which they're great because they're mobile and you can do a lot of damage and they don't cost much, but they're not something that you really want to make the meat of your army out of.
Yeah, and he's going to try to go around here, but this is a bad move, and this actually could just end the game.
Yeah, this is a huge loss here for ASD. A lot of his Marines are going down very quickly without doing any serious damage to these tanks. A bunch of the front tanks getting damaged, but not before taking out the main force of ASD. All the Marines are gone. He's trying to get more back, but they're not fully upgraded. He's only getting a few at a time. Not looking good for ASD.
Not looking good at all.
Noblesse now on his third base as well, so he's going to start catapulting his economy.
He's just... When you have this Marine tank army, you can make more Marines than tanks when the tank number of your opponent is relatively small. When he has 17, though, you just can't do that anymore.
Yeah, you need to make sure you draw that army away from any sort of stronghold like the center of the map that Noblesse is in. Noblesse knows that he doesn't need to go any further than this. He's got the extra base going on up over ASD. He just needs to make sure he defends against drops like the one that is about to happen at the third of Noblesse.
Here it comes. There are some Marines here. Fortunately, though, the medevac changes that pretty quick.
SCV is getting pulled to try to force these back. Not the best decision to make. You want to just try to keep those SCVs alive instead of trying to distract the Marines.
Does clean it up.
But not before losing a bunch of SCVs. Nice drop by ASD, but he is still behind in 20 supply. 10 of that is actually SCVs as well. So he's down almost 30 or 40 supply in army.
Yeah, and the siege tank count is what's really important. It's 13 siege tanks for Noblesse, just 6 for ASD.
ASD, knowing that he is a little bit behind, he is going to try to take out his third. But a drop is coming in here from Noblesse. If he times this poorly, he's going to lose it just like before. But if he times it well, he can do quite a bit of damage with it.
He's just going to go ahead and drop because he is spotted. Yeah, this is going to get cleaned up. No problem.
Yep, run away.
Oh, those Marines. Oh, they took one out. Their dying breath.
And they saved the medevac, so that was pretty good.
Again, Noblesse getting better upgrades. He's about to have 3-2. Whereas ASD's got a lot of Marines, but he just has 1-1. I mean, if you're going for a really Marine-heavy composition like Marine King would do in this matchup, this is basically Marine King style where you make more Marines than tanks.
Yep.
You just have to have better upgrades, and he does not. And part of that is because he doesn't have that third base. He's just gotten it now, whereas Noblesse has had his third base up for like 3 years.
Yeah, and there's a lot of SCVs at that third base because his main is completely not mined out. His natural is getting close to being mined out as well. So it's not a good situation for ASD. It might come down to this one last battle. Not a whole lot of siege tanks in position here. Noblesse just going to go for him, stim in his Marines and just force his way in. A lot of siege tanks in there as well. All the Marines of ASD are going to die. The siege tanks are going to follow shortly after. All the SCVs are going to need to get pulled. Reinforcements are coming in, but it's really not going to be enough when there's so many siege tanks here within range of the third base.
Command Center looks like it is absolutely going to fall. These Marines have +2. They're about to have +3. ASD and an unwinnable situation, to put it bluntly. He's actually dropping. You guys didn't get a shot of it. At the 12 o'clock base, he actually did like an SCB unload there. He didn't want to transfer all the way from his main. He took 2 dropships,
well,
picked up 16. Yeah, you just can't even leave his base, man. Feels like it's an emergency situation.
Yeah, that is what ASD needs to do, but if Noblesse scouts it anytime soon, he is going to be able to kill it very easily because it's very difficult for ASD to get his army out there. He is also up by 60 supply.
Better upgrades, 3-2 against 1-1.
These Vikings are doing a great job of preventing the drops in this game for both players.
Who needs sensor towers when you have a Viking on patrol in every little area of the map?
So the command center has been scouted by Noblesse. He does know what he's dealing with, and will be responding to it very shortly.
Yeah, he's got a very large force. He's got 16 siege tanks out on the map. ASD only having 7, excuse me. Not controlling the watchtower though makes it very difficult to approach this base. He has to do it just right. He's going to completely avoid that watchtower. And, you know, I don't think ASD can hold this base. There's not... He just doesn't have enough units, is the best way to say it.
Oh, the siege tanks were going to try to get into position, but they saw that the siege tanks of Noblesse were sieging up, and he is just going to GG because there's no way to defend. And I believe we broke our streak.
Yep, ASD broke the rules. A player on the left side did win. Noblesse here.
That's going to put Noblesse at 3-0. If he wins this next game, he is going to move into Code S. ASD at 3-1. His time is done. He did a nice job, but that's not going to guarantee him a Code S. It really depends on the next game. So he's going to be cheering for Noblesse in this next game, even though he's fighting against them in this last game.
Yep.
Interesting. Yep. So our last game will be on Belcher Beach.
Yep.
One of my favorite maps to watch.
You don't see a lot of TVT on this map.
No,
just
you don't.
Coincidentally. Yeah. And kind of curious to see how this one's going to go. Gas first, I think, could be pretty good on this map. There's a lot of areas to hide Banshees, that's for sure.
Yeah, and the back of your main is very open, so you can get a lot of drops in there. You can have the Banshees come in behind and hide for a little while. Stay
There's
alive
that gold-based location as well where you can siege up tanks and hit the main, depending on where you know, these guys are most likely... And when it was a newer map, that happened a lot more because people didn't realize, you know, I don't want to build my stuff over there because there's tanks there and it's not a good idea.
I don't want to build my stuff in my opponent's base.
Yeah. Well,
never a good idea.
I sometimes I do want to.
Oh,
like on
well, you're
Caverns, if you hit me on the ladder and I've like lost a few PVTs, I might proxy 2 gateways in your base. If you see it, I'm still gonna make 1.
All right.
Just telling you, Torch, man.
Well, do you think we're gonna see that in this game?
No.
Even though it's TVT?
I don't think there will be any gateways made.
Maybe a proxy barracks.
I mean, if it were dual site, there would be 2 warp gates in the middle of the map, but this isn't dual site. Yeah. I think, you know, the likelihood of a 2-gate proxy is very small.
Yeah, I'd give it a less than 1% chance.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. But I do give a greater than 51% chances this is going to be a very good game, and this is actually determining who gets into Code S. It's been a long day of games today, but these games are actually really important. Getting into Code S and staying there is every StarCraft 2 pro gamer's dream. If you can get to that level, you are the top in the world.
This is like an entrance exam. This is like the SATs. It determines your future. You have to try again next month if you mess up. But the scariest part about this to me, as a player, if I were a player here, I'd be like, yeah, getting into Code S is great, but I absolutely do not want to play in Code A round of 32 where I could go back. Being in Code B is like being in hell. You like just don't want to be there. You like never get out. You're like always trying to climb up the ladder, and some guy just smacks you down with like a 4-gate, and you're like, ah. It can happen, man.
Or just someone like Dong Ragu that's insanely good does it, and then he gets knocked down by someone else that's insanely good. Not a good situation, but starting to get a little bit different. Our Code B tournament, which is the qualifier for Code A, is happening next week. If you're a foreigner, feel free to apply for that. Or a foreigner in Korea, excuse me, or able to get to Korea. We are going to take a 2-minute break, but while you're on that break, check out the qualifiers. We will actually be broadcasting those to you guys in some capacity, so check it out.